Mr. Biden has run his entire political campaign for 50 years as the family man. Well, I've got news for you, sir. The curtain has been lifting, and that campaign slogan will never work again. I would love to see the president man up, admit this was a more political move on his part than it was a military. This is not a game. It's cost our kids their lives. And if he's honest with himself and he feels he can't do this job, because we have active military in place right now that scares the crap out of me for those guys to be under this leadership. If you can't be a leader, step aside and let somebody else do it. You are a disgrace to this nation. You have no business having ultimate command over our military, and I regret not saying that to your face when I had the opportunity.
That was Mark Schmitzer, the father of Jared Smits, one of the 13 service members who was killed in their withdrawal out of Afghanistan. He unleashed on President Biden, saying he's done with biting his tongue, calling the president's approach to the families who lost their children as disgusting and cowardly. The Gold Star families have taken aim at the Biden administration again today, while speaking at the House Foreign Affairs Committee roundtable. It has now been 2 years since Joe Biden officially ended the 20-year war, but these families are still seeking answers and accountability. They want to know the truth about the operation because they believe their children were ignored and that the White House has lied about everything that led to their deaths. And while the decision to end the war wasn't necessarily criticised, given Donald Trump wanted to do it as well, it was the way in which it happened. The Biden administration copped a lot of backlash for the retreat. Americans were left behind, Afghan allies' safety was compromised, and of course, those militants were killed. And ever since then, these families have been seeking answers and accountability from the White House. They want a play-by-play of how this could have occurred. Or in Mark's words, he wants the president to man up and admit that the evacuation process was more a political move than anything to do with the military. He said Joe Biden needs to be honest. If he can't be a leader, he needs to step aside and let someone else do it. Now, the president has long maintained that the evacuation process was a success, but that declaration has angered many people who believe it shouldn't have been done in the way it was. General Mark Milley, who was involved in the operation to withdraw, said the country owes the Gold Star families everything. We owe them transparency, we owe them honesty, we owe them accountability, we owe them the truth about what happened to their loved ones. This is a personal thing for all of us in uniform. We don't like what happened in Afghanistan. We don't like the outcome of Afghanistan. We owe it to the families to take care of them. Their sacrifices were not in vain. The cost in blood was high, but every single one of us who served in Afghanistan should hold our heads high. Each served with skill, dedication, and honour. For 2 decades, our nation was not attacked from Afghanistan. That was our mission, and each one can be rightly proud of their service. Darren Hoover, the father of Taylor Hoover, also called on the White House to come forward and admit mistakes were made so this never happens again.
I want them all to be grown men like our son was. Come forward, admit those mistakes, rectify the problem. We owe it to our sons and daughters that will come up through the military to know that their leadership has their back. This cannot and should not happen ever again.
Biden's press secretary was asked about whether there were plans for the 2-year anniversary of the evacuation.
Afghanistan withdrawal ended 2 years ago this week. Does President Biden plan to commemorate the events and the people who were killed and left behind as that happened?
So, as you know, the president had a statement recently when it came to the anniversary of Abbeygate. So, just want to state this as it was stated in the president's statement, that we'll forever honor the memory of the 13 service members who were stolen far too soon from their families, loved ones, and brothers and sisters in arms while performing a noble mission on behalf of our nation. And the First Lady, certainly the president, and our entire nation will always support those families.